A sudden pulse of energy rippled through the air, sending a shiver through the rows of corn as a drone hovered silently above the expansive field. Below, an intricate pattern began to form in the earth, a perfect circle etched into the soil as if guided by an unseen hand. The drone's camera captured every detail, its lens focused on a phenomenon that defied logic. A conscious entity seemed to emerge from the very ground itself, a presence that felt all too aware of its observer. As the drone's battery drained, a low hum resonated, echoing across the desolate landscape, and just before the screen faded to black, an unsettling sensation swept over the operator. It was as if the circle, now fully formed, looked back, its geometric perfection hinting at something far beyond human understanding. The air thickened with an electric charge, and the operator couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. Something ancient and unknowable lurked in the shadows of the field, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. In that fleeting moment, curiosity turned to dread, leaving the viewer with a chilling question. What truly lies beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary field? The answer, captured in the drone's final moments, would haunt anyone brave enough to seek it out. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow across the vast expanse of the cornfield, an unsettling stillness enveloped the landscape. The air was thick with anticipation, a palpable energy that seemed to pulse with each gentle breeze that swept through the rows of tall, rustling stalks. It was twilight, the time when shadows lengthened and the realms of the known began to blur with the unknown. The drone, a mere speck against the canvas of the evening sky, hovered silently, its hum barely audible over the whispering corn. Beneath the drone, the ground trembled slightly, not with the quaking of earth, but with a deep resonance, as if the very soil was communicating in a language lost to human ears. Each pulse seemed to align with the drone's rhythmic whirring, creating an eerie symphony that resonated through the operator's bones. He gripped the controller tightly, his knuckles white, a mix of thrill and dread coursing through him. The screen flickered with static, momentarily distorting the image, as if the very fabric of reality was bending to accommodate something otherworldly. Then it began. A formation emerged from the earth, intricate and perfect, a flawless circle that appeared to defy the laws of nature. It was as if a cosmic artist had descended from the stars, etching a masterpiece into the soil with deliberate precision. The operator leaned forward, his breath catching in his throat. The camera zoomed in, capturing the delicate curves and sharp angles of the geometry that seemed too sophisticated for mere human hands. It was a symbol, a language of the cosmos, and in that moment, it felt alive, pulsating with a consciousness that sent chills racing down his spine. Every hair on the back of his neck stood on end, as he felt an odd vibration in the air, a hum that resonated with the very core of his being. The shadows in the cornfield deepened, growing darker and more pronounced, as if they were gathering, quietly observing the spectacle unfold above them. The wind stilled, holding its breath, and for a brief moment the world felt suspended in time. Silence enveloped him, a thick blanket that muffled all sound except for the drone's insistent whir and the faint pulse of energy emanating from the circle below. Then came the hum, low and resonant, vibrating through the air like a distant thunder, yet it held an undeniable intelligence, a message just beyond comprehension. The operator felt an unsettling shift within himself, an awareness that he was being watched. He glanced around, half expecting to see eyes peering out from the corn, but found only the darkened field, a void that seemed to breathe with a life of its own. Was it his imagination, or did the circle, now fully formed, somehow look back at him? The realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. This was not merely a pattern in the earth. It was a sentinel, an ancient watcher rising from the depths of time. It exuded a sense of purpose, as if it had been waiting, patiently biding its time for someone to witness its creation. The air thickened with an electrical charge, a static energy that buzzed against his skin, heightening his senses to an unbearable level. He could almost taste the metal in the air, sharp and tangy, a reminder of the unnatural presence that lingered. As the battery of the drone began to drain, a warning flashed across the screen, but the operator was transfixed. The circle pulsed again, and the hum intensified, vibrating through the ground and resonating within his chest. It was then that he felt it, the unmistakable sensation of being observed, of a gaze penetrating through the veil of reality, locking onto his very soul. He could not shake the feeling that he was not merely a spectator. He was part of this unfolding mystery, entwined in a narrative far greater than himself. Suddenly, the camera flickered, the screen dimming as the battery waned. The final moments of the feed captured a fleeting glimpse of the circle, shimmering beneath the twilight sky, its edges illuminated by an unseen light. In those dying seconds, a shadow darted across the field, a fleeting glimpse of something that defied categorization. It was there, and then it was gone, leaving only the haunting echo of its presence behind. And then, darkness. The screen faded to black, the drone's hum silenced, replaced by a deafening stillness that echoed in the operator's ears. He sat there, breathless, the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. What had he witnessed? What reality had he just brushed against? The chilling question lingered in the air, a ghostly whisper that begged for an answer. As he finally drew himself away from the drone controls, he felt the ground beneath him shift slightly, almost imperceptibly, as if the field itself was alive, breathing, waiting for the next moment of revelation. The thrill of discovery warred with an instinctual dread, leaving him with a singular thought. Something ancient and unknowable had stirred in the depths of that field, a force that was far from benign. The air crackled with unanswered questions, and as he stepped back, the feeling of being watched returned, more potent than before. The circle below seemed to pulse with life, a reminder that while the drone may have captured the phenomenon, the true essence of what lay beneath remained shrouded in mystery, eager to unveil itself to those daring enough to seek the truth. The cold dawn crept over the horizon, shrouding the rural landscape in a muted palette of grays and muted blues. The remnants of night lingered like shadows, wrapping around the vast fields of corn and wheat, each stalk standing sentinel in the quietude. The air was thick with an unshakable tension, a palpable sense that something extraordinary and perhaps sinister was afoot. As the first rays of sunlight struggled to break through the heavy mist, the operator found himself drawn back to the field, an unconscious magnetism pulling him toward the site of the inexplicable. He walked cautiously, his boots crunching on the frost-kissed ground, each step echoing in the silence that enveloped him. Around him, the world held its breath, the usual sounds of morning, chirping birds, rustling leaves, absent, replaced instead by an eerie stillness. The wind, once a gentle caress, now carried a heavy weight, as if it were laden with secrets. He could feel it tugging at his clothing, whispering something just beyond the edge of comprehension. It sent a shiver down his spine, a warning of the unknown that lay ahead. As he approached the field, the sensation of being observed intensified. It was no longer a mere whisper in the back of his mind. It had grown into a deafening roar, a primal instinct urging him to flee, yet his curiosity anchored him in place. He scanned the horizon, half expecting to see a figure standing among the crops, a witness to the otherworldly events that had transpired. But there was only the endless expanse of the field, stretching out like a canvas of uncertainty. Suddenly, a low hum vibrated through the ground, a sound that resonated deep within his chest, reverberating like a heartbeat. It was a frequency that seemed to pulse in sync with the very essence of the earth, an unsettling reminder of the unseen forces at play. He dropped to one knee, placing his palm against the cold, damp soil, feeling the vibrations travel through him, a connection to something ancient and unfathomable. The sensation was intoxicating, yet terrifying, a bittersweet blend of awe and dread. In the distance, he noticed a peculiar glow emanating from the center of the field, a soft luminescence that cut through the fog like a beacon. It wasn't the harsh light of the sun. It was something softer, almost ethereal, casting a gentle illumination that danced across the crops. The operator's heart raced as he stood up, drawn to the light, as if it possessed a magnetic force of its own. Each step toward it felt like crossing a threshold into another realm where the ordinary laws of nature held no sway. As he neared the source of the glow, he felt the air shift, thickening with an electric charge that tingled against his skin. The geometry of the crops had changed. They bent and twisted in ways that defied explanation, forming intricate patterns that spiraled outward like the arms of a galaxy. It was a language of shapes, a cosmic script written in the earth, one that spoke of intelligence beyond human comprehension. He knelt again, this time closer, his breath hitching in his throat as he traced the lines of the formation with his fingertips. The plants were not broken. They were folded with an artistry that suggested intent, a deliberate design that whispered of the impossible. He could almost feel the pulse of the energy flowing through the ground, a silent symphony playing beneath the surface, urging him to listen, to understand. Then came the sounds, soft, melodic tones that seemed to rise and fall in harmony with the hum of the earth. It was as if the field itself was singing, echoing with the voices of 1,000 forgotten souls. The air vibrated with a resonance that made the hairs on his arms stand on end, an invitation to delve deeper into the mysteries of existence. But with each note, a creeping fear began to unfurl within him, a realization that this was no mere spectacle. It was a revelation that held the potential for both enlightenment and despair. Suddenly, a shadow flickered at the edge of his vision, darting between the rows of corn. He spun around, heart racing, but found nothing, only the oppressive hush of the morning. It was a reminder of the presence that lurked just beyond his sight, the intelligence that had orchestrated this spectacle. The feeling of being watched was no longer a fleeting thought, it was a certainty, a heavy weight pressing down on him, urging him to leave, to run away from the inexplicable. As he stood there, frozen between fascination and fear, he felt a rush of wind sweep across the field, carrying with it a metallic scent, sharp and electric. It enveloped him, filling his nostrils and igniting a primal instinct to flee. But he couldn't move. He was entranced, caught in a web of awe and terror. The light pulsed again, more insistently this time, as if beckoning him closer, daring him to uncover the truth buried within the geometric design. And in that moment he understood. This was not just a phenomenon. It was a call to witness, to engage with the unknown. It was an invitation to step into a narrative that transcended the mundane, where the boundaries of reality dissolved into a tapestry woven with threads of mystery. The operator took a deep breath, steeling himself against the fear that threatened to swallow him whole. He had come too far to turn back now. The truth lay just beyond the veil, waiting to be discovered. With a final glance at the shimmering formation, he reached for his camera, determined to capture this moment, this intersection of worlds. But as he raised it, a chilling silence fell, a void that swallowed the melodic hum and left an unsettling stillness in its wake. He glanced around, unease creeping into his bones, a gut instinct that something was about to change. The air felt charged, thick with anticipation, and as he pressed the shutter, a distant rumble echoed through the field, a sound that felt like the awakening of something ancient, a force that had lain dormant for far too long. The moment hung in the air, charged with possibility and dread, as the world around him began to shift. What lay ahead was unknown, a mystery yet to unfold, but the operator sensed that he was no longer merely an observer. He was part of something cosmic, a dance between light and shadow, poised on the precipice of revelation. The vibrations in the soil deepened, a low hum that resonated through his bones, wrapping around him like a shroud. Each pulse seemed to echo the rhythm of his heart, synchronized with the unearthly light that now danced before him. It was as if the very essence of the field had come alive, the earth itself vibrating with a resonance that suggested intelligence, purpose, a will beyond comprehension. The air crackled with energy, and he could feel it pressing against his skin, urging him to step forward, yet holding him back with an unseen force. He stood there, rooted in place, his breaths shallow and quick, each exhale mingling with the metallic scent that hung thick in the air. It was a scent that spoke of both danger and revelation, a paradox that sent shivers down his spine. The shadows around him seemed to deepen, elongating in the flickering light, morphing into shapes that danced at the edges of his vision. There was a whisper in the breeze, a soft susurration that tickled the back of his mind, beckoning him to listen, to understand, to embrace the mystery unfolding before him. As he focused his gaze on the geometric formation, the intricate patterns began to shift and shimmer as if they were alive, breathing with a rhythm of their own. The lines twisted and turned, creating a kaleidoscope of shapes that defied the laws of nature. He could see spirals merging into fractals, intertwining in a dance that was both beautiful and terrifying, as though they were weaving a story that transcended time and space. Each shape seemed to pulse with a life of its own, and he could almost hear them calling out, urging him to decipher their meaning, to unlock the secrets they held. The air thickened, and he felt the pressure around him intensify, as if the universe were holding its breath, waiting for him to make the next move. The world outside this sacred space faded into obscurity. The distant sounds of the night, the rustling of leaves, the chirping of crickets, were swallowed by a profound silence. It was a silence that screamed, resonating with the weight of centuries, of mysteries long buried beneath the soil. He felt an overwhelming urge to reach out, to touch the formation, to become one with the enigma that lay before him. But fear gripped him tightly, a visceral instinct that warned him of the unknown dangers that lurked in the shadows. The chill of the night air seeped into his bones, contrasting starkly with the warmth emanating from the pulsing light. It was as if he stood at the threshold of two worlds, one, the familiar realm of human experience, and the other, a vast expanse of cosmic wonder. He could feel the boundary between them blurring, the veil thin, and in that moment he realized he was not just an observer, he was being observed. The sensation of being watched clawed at him, a primal fear that sent his heart racing. It was as if the very essence of the formation was aware of his presence, scrutinizing him, judging whether he was worthy of the knowledge it harbored. Suddenly, a low, resonant sound rippled through the air, a vibration that resonated deep within his chest. It was a tone that felt ancient, filled with the wisdom of eons, and yet it was hauntingly melancholic, echoing the sorrows and joys of countless lives. The sound enveloped him, pulling him deeper into the mystery, and he could feel tears prickling at the corners of his eyes, a reaction to the profound beauty and terror of the moment. He wanted to scream, to shout into the void, to break the silence that had settled like a heavy fog around him. But no sound escaped his lips. Instead, he stood frozen, captivated by the spectacle unfolding before him. As the formation continued to pulse with light and sound, he felt a shift in the atmosphere, a change that sent a shiver racing down his spine. The shadows that had lingered at the edges began to coalesce, forming a silhouette that stood just beyond the reach of the illuminated design. It was a shape that defied description, an amalgamation of light and dark, human and otherworldly, pulsating with an energy that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of the universe. It was a presence that felt both inviting and threatening, drawing him in while simultaneously warning him to stay away. His instincts screamed at him to flee, to run back to the safety of the familiar. But something deeper held him in place. A voice within whispered that he was on the brink of something monumental, a revelation that could change everything he thought he knew. The tension in the air thickened, wrapping around him like a cocoon, and as he struggled to breathe, he understood that this moment was not just about witnessing the phenomenon. It was about embracing the unknown, about surrendering to the mysteries that lay beyond human comprehension. In that heartbeat of eternity, he felt a connection, a thread that bound him to the cosmic forces at play, weaving him into the very narrative of existence. His heart raced, the pulse of the universe resonating within him, and he knew that whatever lay ahead would demand courage, that he would have to dive into the depths of the unknown. With a deep breath, he steadied himself, ready to confront the enigma that awaited him just beyond the threshold of understanding. As he took a tentative step forward, the air shimmered around him, and the light intensified, a beacon guiding him towards the heart of the mystery. The shadows whispered secrets, and he felt the weight of their gaze upon him, urging him to unveil the truth hidden within the geometric patterns that sprawled before him. The journey was just beginning, and with each step he felt the pull of the cosmos, a force that promised revelation and danger in equal measure. The dance of light and shadow continued, and he was determined to uncover the secrets that awaited him, no matter the cost. The air crackled with an electric tension, a palpable energy that seemed to pulse in tandem with the rhythm of his heart. As he stepped closer to the luminous design sprawled across the field, the ground beneath his feet trembled, resonating with a deep hum that vibrated through his bones. Each footfall sent ripples through the grass, merging his presence with the enigmatic phenomenon that beckoned him forward. The geometric patterns shimmered like a mirage, their intricate lines drawing him into a labyrinth of meaning that felt both ancient and profoundly new. The light was not merely illuminating, it was alive, swirling with hues of ethereal blues and soft golds, casting an otherworldly glow that transformed the mundane landscape into a cosmic tapestry. It danced and flickered as if responding to thoughts unspoken, teasing the edges of his consciousness with the promise of understanding. Yet, with every pulse of brightness, a shadow flickered at the periphery, a silhouette that remained just out of reach, teasing his senses and igniting a primal fear that clawed at his gut. A deep, resonant sound filled the air, a vibration that harmonized with the cosmic energy enveloping him. It was not a sound he could place. It was a frequency that bypassed language and struck at the very core of his being. The noise seemed to vibrate through the soil, a melody of the universe played on an unseen instrument, echoing the heartbeat of something vast and incomprehensible. He closed his eyes for a moment, surrendering to the sensation, feeling the resonance travel through him, igniting dormant fears and curiosities alike. He opened his eyes to find the geometric design shifting, the shapes morphing and folding into one another with a precision that defied the laws of nature. Spirals intertwined with triangles, curves melted into straight lines, and the entire formation seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting like a living organism. It was mesmerizing and terrifying all at once, a visual symphony that played with the boundaries of reality. This was no mere crop circle. It was a message, a language crafted in the very fabric of existence, waiting for someone to decipher its meaning. His pulse quickened as he noticed how the light seemed to gather in certain places, intensifying where the shapes intersected, as if highlighting a hidden significance. The whispers around him grew louder, indistinct murmurs that danced just beyond comprehension, weaving through the fabric of his thoughts and urging him to listen. He strained his ears, trying to make sense of the cacophony, but the sounds eluded him, slipping through his grasp like grains of sand. It was a reminder that some truths were not meant to be understood, but felt, experienced in the marrow of his being. Suddenly, a rush of wind swept through the field, carrying with it a metallic scent that filled his lungs and ignited a sense of foreboding. It was a smell that felt alien, sharp and electric, awakening instincts buried deep within him. He turned instinctively, scanning the horizon, half expecting to see a figure emerge from the shadows. a harbinger of the unknown. But there was nothing, only the vast expanse of the night sky stretching infinitely above, dotted with stars that twinkled like distant eyes, observing him in silence. A flicker of movement caught his attention, and he turned back to the formation, breath hitching in his throat. The shadows around the geometric design seemed to pulse, thickening and swirling in a way that suggested they were alive, sentient. He felt a pull, an irresistible urge to touch the patterns, to connect with whatever intelligence lay beyond the veil of reality. But fear gripped him, a visceral reminder that the unknown could just as easily consume him as it could enlighten him. In that moment, he was caught between the desire for revelation and the instinct to flee. The very fabric of existence felt fragile, as if the cosmos itself held its breath, waiting for him to make a choice. He realized that this was not merely an encounter with the extraordinary, it was an invitation to transcend the limitations of human understanding. The geometry before him was a doorway, a threshold to a realm where the boundaries of time and space blurred, where the whispers of the universe converged into a single truth. With a resolve that surged from the depths of his being, he stepped closer, compelled by an unseen force. The air shimmered, wrapping around him with a warmth that felt both inviting and unsettling. As he reached out toward the luminous design, he felt a wave of energy wash over him, a rush that filled him with exhilaration and dread. The light embraced his fingertips, and in that instant he understood that he was not merely an observer, but a participant in a cosmic dance, a thread in the tapestry of existence. The shadows flickered, and for a heartbeat, the silhouette that had haunted him came into focus. It was not a figure, but a manifestation of something beyond comprehension, a being of light and dark that radiated a profound intelligence. Time slowed as he gazed into the swirling depths of its form, feeling a connection that transcended words. It was a moment of profound clarity, where fear melted away and was replaced by an overwhelming sense of purpose. The geometric patterns pulsed in unison with the entity, as if communicating in a language older than time. The fear that had gripped him began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of belonging, of being part of something larger than himself. The universe was alive with possibilities, and he was on the brink of unveiling its mysteries. But just as the connection deepened, a sudden jolt of energy surged through him, breaking the trance. The shadows receded, the light flickered, and the moment shattered like glass, leaving him standing alone in the field, breathless and trembling. The realization hit him. This was only the beginning. The cosmic dance had initiated a series of events that would spiral beyond his control, leading him down a path filled with revelations and dangers he could scarcely imagine. As he stood there, the echoes of the celestial encounter reverberated within him, igniting a fire of determination. He would uncover the truth hidden within the geometric patterns, delve into the depths of the unknown, and confront whatever awaited him on the other side. The mysteries of the cosmos were calling, and he would answer, even if it meant facing the shadows that lurked beyond the light. The night was thick with a palpable silence, a shroud that wrapped around the fields like an embrace. The air was heavy, carrying an electric charge that seemed to hum with anticipation. As he stood alone in the aftermath of his cosmic encounter, the world around him felt utterly transformed. The gentle rustle of the cornstalks, once a familiar lullaby, now sounded like whispers of ancient secrets, echoing through the stillness. Each breath he took was a reminder of the audacious dance he had just witnessed, a dance that redefined the boundaries of his understanding. His heart raced, each beat a reminder of the connection he had felt with the entity, a living enigma that had revealed itself in a moment of unfiltered clarity. The geometric patterns, still vivid in his mind, were more than mere symbols etched into the soil. They were a language, a message that beckoned him to decipher its meaning. He could almost hear them calling out, their resonance vibrating through the very fabric of his being. The sound was subtle yet profound, a low-frequency hum that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the earth itself. As he stepped cautiously towards the center of the formation, he noticed the way the moonlight danced upon the undulating shapes, casting elongated shadows that twisted and morphed as if alive. Each angle and curve of the design held an allure that was both beautiful and terrifying. It was a cosmic riddle, one that whispered promises of revelations yet to come. He could not shake the feeling that he was being watched, an unseen presence lurking just beyond the periphery of his vision. The sensation prickled his skin, a reminder of the duality of existence, the light and the dark, the known and the unknown. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the air, a sound that resonated deep within his chest. It was not thunder. It was something far more unsettling. The vibrations seemed to emanate from the very ground beneath him, a pulse that synchronized with the patterns at his feet. The air grew thick with a metallic scent, an aroma that sent shivers racing down his spine. It was as if the very essence of the universe had shifted, and he was standing at the precipice of an unfolding mystery that beckoned him closer. He closed his eyes, allowing the sensations to wash over him. The whispering wind carried with it fragments of sound, distant echoes, muted voices, and the unmistakable thrum of something otherworldly. It was a symphony of the unknown, an orchestration that resonated with the core of his being. As he opened his eyes, he felt the weight of expectation pressing upon him, urging him to delve deeper into the enigma that surrounded him. Then, without warning, the shadows flickered once more, and he caught a glimpse of movement in the periphery of his vision. It was fleeting, an ephemeral silhouette that danced just beyond the edge of the light. His breath hitched in his throat as he turned, searching for the source of the disturbance. The night seemed to hold its breath, the world suspended in a moment of anticipation. What had he truly witnessed? Was it merely a trick of his mind, a byproduct of the energy that still buzzed in the air, or was it something far more sinister? A surge of adrenaline coursed through him as he felt the unmistakable presence of another, not human, but something beyond comprehension. It was an intelligence, a conscious awareness that thrummed with purpose. The shadows shifted, elongating and twisting as if attempting to communicate, to draw him into their depths. The fear that had begun to bubble within him was a double-edged sword, cutting through the veil of excitement that had enveloped him moments before. "What do you want?" he whispered into the stillness, his voice barely breaking the tension that hung in the air like a fragile thread. The response was immediate, a flicker of light dancing with intent. It pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, a silent acknowledgement that sent chills racing down his spine. He felt as if the very atmosphere was charged with unspoken words, a dialogue that transcended his understanding. In that moment, he realized he was not merely an observer, he was a participant in this cosmic tapestry, woven into the very fabric of existence. But the shadows, too, held their secrets close, and the more he reached out, the more elusive they became. The geometric patterns that had once seemed inviting now felt like a labyrinth, a puzzle infused with the weight of ancient knowledge. What lay at its center? He could not shake the feeling that he was being drawn into a riddle that could unravel the very essence of reality. Suddenly, the ground beneath him trembled, and the pulsating light intensified, casting an otherworldly glow across the field. His instincts screamed at him to run, to escape the gravitational pull of the unknown. Yet something deeper urged him to stay, to confront whatever lay hidden in the shadows. It was a battle between fear and curiosity, a dance of light and darkness that echoed the very forces of the universe itself. The moment hung in the air, thick with tension and anticipation. He could feel the fabric of reality stretching, the boundaries blurring between what he knew and what he was about to discover. With every heartbeat, the shadows whispered their secrets, and the luminous design pulsed with a life of its own. It was a call to adventure, a beckoning to chase the unknown, to unravel the tapestry that had ensnared him. "What do you think they saw?" he murmured to himself, the question reverberating in his mind like a mantra. The shadows shifted once more, and he felt a surge of energy that ignited his determination. He would not shy away from this cosmic dance. He would embrace it, venture into the depths of the unknown, even if it meant confronting the very essence of fear itself. The mysteries of the universe awaited, and he was ready to answer their call. The dawn was breaking, casting a fragile light over the field, yet the remnants of the night lingered like ghosts in the air. As he stood there, the vastness of the cosmos seemed to envelop him, a shroud of mystery that both terrified and thrilled him. The geometric patterns that had once appeared inviting now loomed ominously, their precise angles and curves reflecting a knowledge that felt ancient and unknowable. He could not escape the feeling that these shapes were not just mere formations. They held the echoes of forgotten truths, waiting patiently for someone brave enough to decode their secrets. As he took a tentative step closer to the center of the formation, the ground trembled again, a deep, resonant vibration that coursed through his body like a heartbeat. It was a sound that transcended human comprehension, not merely heard but felt, a symphony of the cosmos that resonated within his very bones. The air around him thickened, charged with a metallic scent that made his skin prickle. It was a strange amalgamation of fear and exhilaration, a potent cocktail that sent adrenaline coursing through his veins. His heart raced as he approached the intricate design, the lines glistening with an ethereal light that pulsed in rhythm with the vibrations beneath his feet. Each step felt like a descent into a dream, where reality twisted and turned, leaving him disoriented yet oddly anchored by the very fear that sought to pull him back. The shadows danced around him, flickering in and out of view, as if they were sentient beings, observing his every move with a predatory curiosity. It was as though they were alive, breathing with a presence that was both foreboding and inviting. He squinted, trying to decipher the patterns that seemed to writhe and shift before his eyes. The geometric shapes formed an intricate dance, spiraling into a vortex of impossibility that beckoned him closer. He could feel the energy radiating from the center, a magnetic pull that was inescapable. It was a call to delve deeper into the unknown, to unravel the threads of existence that had brought him to this moment. Yet, as he neared, an instinctual dread surged within him. What lay at the heart of this mystery? Was it wisdom, or was it something far darker, a knowledge that could unravel his very being? The wind shifted, howling through the rows of crops, carrying with it whispers of the unseen. He strained to listen, the hushed tones weaving a narrative that danced tantalizingly on the edge of his understanding. It was as if the very earth beneath him was speaking, urging him to comprehend the complexities of the cosmic dance unfolding around him. Yet the more he listened, the more the words eluded him, slipping through his fingers like grains of sand. The realization struck him. This was not merely a phenomenon. It was a dialogue between realms, a conversation that demanded not just observation, but participation. Just then, a sudden silence fell over the field, a heavy stillness that pressed against his chest, making it difficult to breathe. The pulsating light dimmed momentarily, as if the universe was holding its breath, waiting for him to make a choice. In that moment of quiet, a chill raced down his spine, not from the cold of the early morning air, but from the palpable sense of being watched. He turned slowly, scanning the edges of the field, half expecting to see eyes peering from the shadows, waiting for him to falter. But there was nothing, only the endless expanse of the cornfield stretching out like a green ocean beneath the awakening sky. Yet, deep within, he felt the weight of unseen eyes, an intelligence lurking just beyond the veil of perception. It was a reminder that he was not alone, that he was part of something greater, something that defied understanding. The shadows were not merely dark. They were alive with possibilities, each one a thread in the vast tapestry of existence. As the silence lingered, he felt a shift in the air, a subtle change that whispered of impending revelation. The geometric patterns seemed to pulse with renewed vigor, their shapes sharpening into clarity. He hesitated, caught between the compulsion to flee and the irresistible pull to stay, to unlock the riddle that beckoned him forward. His breath quickened, and he could feel the heartbeat of the cosmos echoing in his own chest, a reminder of the connection between all things. Then, with a sudden burst of light, the design exploded into brilliance, illuminating the field in a kaleidoscope of colors that danced across his vision. He shielded his eyes, overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment. The air crackled with energy, a symphony of sound and light that surged around him like a tidal wave. It was a moment of transcendence, where the boundaries of reality blurred and he was left standing at the precipice of the unknown. In that breathtaking instant, he understood. The patterns were not just a manifestation of light. They were a message, a testament to the intelligence that permeated the cosmos. The shapes spoke of ancient wisdom, of a language that transcended words and resonated in the very fabric of existence. And as he gazed into the heart of the luminous design, he felt a deep sense of belonging, a connection that tied him to the universe in ways he had never fathomed. Yet, just as quickly as it had begun, the light began to fade, retreating back into the shadows, leaving him breathless and yearning for more. The silence returned, but this time it was different. It felt heavy with the weight of unspoken truths, as if the universe was waiting for him to take the next step. He stood there, heart racing, caught in the tension between fear and curiosity, knowing that this was only the beginning, a threshold to a reality that lay just beyond his grasp. "What do you think they saw?" he whispered again, the question echoing in the stillness, a plea for understanding in the face of the unknown. The shadows seemed to stir, as if acknowledging his inquiry, and for a fleeting moment he felt a connection that transcended time and space. He was not merely a spectator, he was woven into the very fabric of this cosmic dance, a participant in a story that extended far beyond his comprehension. And as he stood there, the weight of possibility pressing against him, he knew he had to push further, to embrace the unknown and uncover the truths that awaited in the depths of the shadows. As the last remnants of the radiant display flickered and faded into the night, a profound stillness enveloped the field, thickening the air with an electrifying tension. The sky, once alive with brilliant hues, now hung heavy with the weight of anticipation, like a breath held too long. He stood there, heart pounding like a drum echoing in the vastness of the universe, each beat resonating with the lingering energy that had just surged through him. The silence was no longer empty. It was a living entity, pregnant with possibilities and unspoken truths, vibrating with a frequency that seemed to call out to him, urging him to step further into the unknown. The ground beneath his feet felt different now, as if the soil itself was infused with the echoes of the cosmic event that had just unfolded. He could feel a pulse, a rhythmic throbbing that synchronized with his own heartbeat, drawing him closer to the epicenter of the mysterious formation. His senses heightened, and he could taste the metallic tang in the air, a remnant of the energy that had illuminated the night. It was intoxicating and terrifying all at once, the essence of fear and curiosity intertwining in a dance as old as time itself. With every passing second, shadows began to shift and swirl around him, no longer static but alive with movement, as if they were sentient beings observing his every thought. The wind picked up, swirling around him in a chaotic breeze that seemed to whisper secrets from beyond the veil, secrets that begged to be uncovered. He could hear it now, the faintest hum, a low frequency that resonated deep within his bones, a sound that transcended language, communicating an urgency that he could not ignore. It was the sound of something ancient and wise, a reminder that he was not alone in this vast expanse. He glanced back at the agroglyph, its intricate geometry now barely visible in the moonlight. But the impression it left on his mind was indelible. Each curve and angle spoke of a knowledge beyond human comprehension, a language written not in words, but in the very fabric of existence itself. As he approached the formation, the air thickened with a palpable energy, enveloping him in a cocoon of warmth and chill simultaneously, a paradox that left him breathless. He could feel the presence of something, an intelligence that lingered just beyond the edge of perception, watching and waiting. In that moment, time seemed to stretch and warp, bending around him as he reached out a tentative hand toward the formation. The tips of his fingers brushed against the stalks of wheat, which quivered at his touch, as if awakening from a long slumber. He closed his eyes, allowing himself to be enveloped by the sensations, the warmth of the earth, the coolness of the night air, the vibrations pulsing through his body, and the faint whispers of the unseen. It was a symphony of existence, a reminder that he was part of something far greater, something that transcended the mundane reality he had always known. Just then, a sound pierced the silence, a low, resonant hum that seemed to emanate from the very core of the glyph. It was unlike anything he had ever heard, a melodic vibration that resonated within him, awakening a deep-seated fear and exhilaration. The glyph pulsed rhythmically, as if responding to the sound, each pulse synchronized with the hum, creating a harmony that was at once beautiful and terrifying. It danced in the air, wrapping around him, drawing him closer to the heart of the mystery that lay before him. As he opened his eyes, the world shifted around him. The shadows grew darker, more pronounced, and he felt a chill run down his spine. A figure emerged from the darkness, a silhouette that seemed to pulse with the same energy as the glyph. It was not fully formed, a distortion of light and shadow that flickered at the edges of his vision, almost as if it were testing the boundaries of his perception. He could feel its gaze upon him, an intelligent presence that held the weight of ages, a consciousness that seemed to understand him in ways he could not fathom. "What do you think they saw?" he repeated, the question escaping his lips as a desperate plea, a yearning for understanding that echoed into the void. The figure shifted, responding to his inquiry with a movement that sent ripples through the air, a silent acknowledgement that sent a wave of exhilaration through him. He was not merely an observer, he was a participant in this cosmic dialogue, a thread woven into the tapestry of existence. Suddenly, the glyph erupted with a burst of light, a final display of brilliance that illuminated the night once more. He squinted against the intensity, heart racing as the energy enveloped him, swirling around him like a tempest of starlight. In that moment, he glimpsed something profound. A symbol hidden within the symbol, a deeper layer of meaning that resonated with the core of his being. It was a revelation that shook him to the very foundation of his understanding, a truth that suggested the phenomenon was far from over. Then, just as swiftly as it had begun, the light receded, leaving him standing amidst the shadows, breathless and yearning. The silence returned, but it was no longer empty. It was filled with the weight of a truth unspoken, a possibility lingering in the air like a fragrance that refused to dissipate. He felt the pulse of the universe around him, a reminder that he was part of something larger, something infinitely complex and beautiful. As he turned to leave, a faint sound caught his attention, a whisper of laughter or perhaps a sigh echoing through the stillness. He paused, heart pounding, realizing that the presence was still there, watching him, waiting. The shadows danced around him, a reminder that the story was far from over, that the mysteries of the cosmos were only just beginning to unfold. If you want more stories like this, mysterious and real, stay with us and subscribe. The words echoed in his mind, a promise of more to come. The universe had much to reveal, and he could feel it in his bones. The adventure was only beginning, and the shadows held secrets that were waiting to be uncovered.